When Duncan was the king of Scotland, there lived a brave general who was looked up to with high esteem throughout Scotland for his great valor and skill in wars. He was also a close relative of the old king. He was Macbeth, the son of Grim. Of late, he defeated a rebel army assisted by the troops of Norway in great numbers. He emerged as a valor of Indian and Bellona as a bridegroom. His valor and courage demanded praise from all and sundry. The two Scottish generals, Macbeth and Banquo, were returning from the great battle. There was the thunder and lightning on the The two Scottish generals Macbeth and Banquo were returning from the great battle. There was the thunder and lightning. On the way they were stopped by the strange appearance of three figures that looked like women except that they had beards and their withered skin and wild dress made them look like unearthly creatures. They were dancing, they were singing. Fair is foul and foul is fair, however, through the fog and filthy air. As they saw the two generals, the first which saluted Macbeth with the title of Son of Gleams, the general was scarcely started to find himself known by such creatures. The second witches addressed him as the Son of Cardwell. Addressed him as the son of Cardwell, to which he had no pretensions. And the third told him, "You will be the king of Scotland hereafter." Such a prophetic greeting might well amuse him, for he knew that as long as the king's son survived, he could scarcely hope to succeed to the throne. By this time, Banquo was curious to know the reason why the witches had little to say about him, whereas they kindled hope in the heart of his desert friend. So the witches turned towards Banquo and told him in somewhat riddling terms to be lesser than Macbeth and greater, not so happy, but much happier. They also prospected that although Banquo would never reign and the King of Scotland, yet his successors would be the kings, and then they turned into their thin air and vanished. By the witches, generals realized the were sisters to be witches. Sister, I. While they stood there pondering on the strangeness of the adventure, there arrived certain envoys from the king who were empowered to confer upon Macbeth the title of the Son of Cardwell. It was an event so miraculously corresponding with the prediction of the witches that Macbeth stood there wrapped in amazement, unable to respond to the greeting of the envoy. Rose and Angus Hope began to swell in his heart with the thorn of courtship, and he was now thinking of the prediction of the third witch. Turning into Banquet, he said, "Do you not hope that your children shall be the kings of the future? Since what the witches promised to me has so wonderfully come to pass." "That hope," replied the Banquet, "might enkindle you to aim at the throne, but of time these ministers of darkness tell us truth in little things, to betray us into deeds of greatest consequence." However, the prophecies of the witches had sunk too deep into the mind of Macbeth. He told his wife about the strange prediction of the three witches and also its partial accomplishment. Lady Macbeth spat on the reluctant purpose of Macbeth, who felt compunction at the thought of blood. She did not cease to represent the murder of the king as a step of absolutely necessary to the fulfillment of flattering prophecy. It happened that at the time King Duncan came to visit Macbeth Castle along with his two sons, Malcolm and Donalbain, and numerous dozens of attempts to honor Macbeth for his triumph against the rebels. Inverness, the castle of Macbeth was pleasantly situated on a hill, and the air about it was sweet and wholesome. The nest that swallows or the martlets had built under all the rooting trees and butterness of the building. The king was extremely pleased as he entered and placed, not only for its wonderful ambience but also due to the attention of respect of his hostless, Lady Macbeth, who had developed the art of heart, her teacher's purpose with smiles and charming etiquette. Tired of his long journey, the king went early to bed. It was the middle of the night now. Now over half of the world, nature seems dead and weak. Dream abuse sleeping men's minds, and none but the wolf or the martyr is out of not she would not have undertaken a deed so apparent to her sex, and she was well aware of her husband's nature that was too full of the milk of human kindness to excuse a contrived murder. She knew that her husband was ambitious, but he was not prepared for the height of crime which commonly accompanies inordinate ambition. She had won his consent about murder, but she had doubted his resolution, and she feared that the natural tenderness of his devotion would defeat the purpose. So, armed with the dagger, She approached the king's chamber. There she found a Duncan in sound sleep. As she viewed him earnestly, there was something in his face which resembled her own father. Thus, she had not the courage to proceed further.